Good morning and welcome back to the second hour of Lovebabz, Lovetalk. I'm Babz Rawls-Ivy. Thanks for tuning in. I'm so delighted. I've been waiting for this conversation for quite some time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Ifeoma Nwokoye. How are you?
I'm doing so well. How are you, Babz?
Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, you did.
I've been working on it. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, getting over a cold, but it's that time of year. Yes. Just really happy to be here to talk about wellness, lifestyle medicine, what I'm offering. So, Babz, we've talked about this, and now's the opportunity. So, really excited to be here.
I'm so glad. So let me tell people. So you have your Master's of Science in Nursing from Yale University. You got it in 2016. Yeah. You are a nurse practitioner. You did your nurse practitioner residency at Lifelong Medical in Berkeley, California. Yeah. You worked as a family nurse practitioner and a primary care provider in community-based federally qualified health centers across the state of Connecticut. I know you from the Cornell Scott universe.
That's right.
Right? Yep. And in 2023, you became a board certified lifestyle medicine. And now this is your business.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's more than a business, as you'll find out soon why. But yes, this is my passion.
And so most people's passion comes from a very personal place. So, and if you're a nurse, you've probably seen a lot of illness. You've seen a lot of disparities, particularly in communities that are of Black and Brown people and poverty and all of that. So does some of that drive some of what you're doing now?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've always been interested in health and wellness, really from the most foundational aspect. But for me, working as a family nurse practitioner in community health centers, so my prior job was at Cornell Scott Hill Health Center right here in Dixwell, now in the Q House. Up front, on the front lines, you really see what our communities are struggling with. And a lot of it is chronic disease, right? So these are things like heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, cancer, obesity, mental health, post-traumatic stress, all kinds of things. And I was in the trenches during COVID. That was a really hard time for a lot of healthcare professionals. And we saw how people, and again, a lot of the people in our community, Black and Brown folk, who bear a disproportionate burden of chronic disease because of a lot of social determinants of health. You touched on some of it, poverty, education, et cetera, were more at risk for poor outcomes, say from COVID. And we saw that. There were a lot of loss of lives. And we saw that in the clinic. It was heartbreaking. And, it's experiences like that that really propelled me to lean into this discipline of lifestyle medicine, because I know it works. There's evidence behind it, and help people, empower people to really take charge of their health. That's really what this is about, from the most basic foundational level.
Mm-hmm. And so you and I talked this summer on the porch, and which was a really great conversation. Lifestyle medicine is, I imagine it to be like a holistic approach. Like historically, medicine parcels out whatever the illness is. They don't connect it to anything else in your life. They're just like, all right, if you have a cold, this is how you treat the cold. They don't ask you about, is your house warm, or do you have enough to eat, or da 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 da. Is that part of lifestyle, thinking about people holistically, and instead of singling out what the issue, what one part of the issue is?
Yes, definitely. So it is a holistic approach. Right? It's our physical, our mental, our spiritual, our environment. It's all these things, as you said, Babz. But lifestyle medicine, as I'm a part of this discipline, is actually a growing medical specialty within medicine itself. So, right, like allopathic medicine, when you go to the doctor, right, you have an acute illness or chronic thing going on, and usually you get a medication or maybe you get a referral, or maybe you have to do a procedure. And so there are places for these modalities, but often what's missing is that more holistic approach. How's your diet? How's your mental health? How's your exercise and movement? What's happening in your life as far as stress, right? These sort of foundational pieces that we don't have the time to talk about, or it's just not part of the training. And so lifestyle medicine is really a movement within healthcare to address these foundational pillars. And there's 6 of them that have a lot of evidence, scientific evidence behind them. So one of them is nutrition, specifically a whole food, predominant plant-based diet. That doesn't mean you have to be a vegan or vegetarian. It just means we know the value that whole foods, right, in their full form, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, I mean, there's so many, can provide us, right, the health benefits. Another one is physical activity. How are we moving our bodies? Being sedentary is like smoking cigarettes now, right? It's just not good for us. Sleep, are we getting restorative sleep? And if not, why? Stress management, that's a huge one, right? The other pillars are positive social connections. We know that when we're isolated, we don't tend to do well. We don't heal as well. Our immune function goes down. And then the other is avoiding risky substances, cigarettes, excessive alcohol use, other illicit drugs, things like that. So those are the 6 pillars upon which lifestyle medicine is built. And we know there are others, but these are the ones that have the most robust evidence. And that's where we start with.
Mm-hmm. And so in your practice, in your professional practice, leading up to this moment, what do you hear when you talk to people, when you gently say, well, let's look at your life? And what do you hear? Like, what is the resistance? Because I know what my resistance is: time and energy, and how can I fit this in, and how many steps do I need to fit all this in? Like, what's the one more thing I got to do? So what do you think?
Babz, you've named a lot of them, and it's real. I mean, I'm not saying this is an easy path. However, it is worth it. And I think what happens is you, the person, the patient, the client, has to identify, why is this important to me? Because that's what's going to motivate you to make change. And until you make that decision, it is very hard to do, because our society is just not set up for having a healthy lifestyle. There's so many barriers. So when you find what's driving your motivation, then it becomes easier. It could be, I have all these pills and I'm sick of taking them and I get all these side effects. Or, I want to have energy so I can care for my family, my grandkids, my children. There's so many reasons why people do it. But connecting with what motivates you is really where that drive comes. And then it's a journey, right? Our health journey is a process. It's not a final destination. It's not perfection. But it is being willing to take some very simple, achievable steps, and then letting them become lifelong, sustainable health habits. So these are not quick fixes. This is not, you look on Instagram and there's the latest fad and you throw everything out, you just do that. It's not like that. It's really about what's incremental, what's sustainable, and then that's how we change habits.
I love that. So you don't beat yourself up if you're like, okay, I'm on this journey and some days I'm good and then other days I'm at McDonald's. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely not. There's no beating up a lot. In fact, what I love about it is there's so much love and compassion. It's like we meet each other where we are. So when I see a patient, client, it's not what's the matter with you. It's what matters to you. And let's use that as a bridge.
Oh, I like that.
And let's celebrate your successes, right? Because we know it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or maybe 1 step forward, 2 steps back, right? That's the health journey. But we celebrate the successes, and having a positive mindset is actually really, really important for this work, because that's what helps you see challenges not as setbacks, but as something to learn and grow from. And that's also, when you celebrate your success, that also is also what gives you more motivation to keep working at what's actually important to you. You've identified what's important. I'm not telling you. I bring the expertise, I bring the resources, but this is really about what you want.
I love it. So you set up shop at the lab at Concord.
I did, yeah.
Which is in my neighborhood, which I love.
Yeah.
And you're offering a free lifestyle medicine to transform your health. Free. And it's a commitment of 8 weeks, 8 Tuesdays.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. I'm looking at the flyer, and what should I expect from this? What should I expect?
So this is this is basically an opportunity for folks who are interested in learning about healthy eating. So it's really focused more on the nutrition pillar of lifestyle medicine, and especially how to bring in whole food, plant-based into your diet. So you don't have to change anything you're doing. It's really about adding things on. And how do you do that? And what are the challenges and barriers that get into the way? And how do we overcome that? So when you're in a group setting, you have the power of the group. You have peers, you have myself, I'm going to be working with some residents from the Yale School of Medicine who get to experience this and also help teach and facilitate some of the classes. So it's really an awesome opportunity for everybody to be on the same level and support each other. I mean, we're here to provide the content, the information, the support, but it's really about exploring this journey of healthy eating together.
I love it because, Ifeoma, we hear so much about a Mediterranean diet, pescatarian this, intermittent fasting that, and everybody's like, oh my God, I don't even know how to make all this, make sense of all of this. So you help us decide what we could add into our diets to make us healthier.
Yes. And what's beautiful, Babz, about it is that you're right. I mean, there's so much confusion, like what should I eat? What shouldn't I eat? And it's gotten kind of tough to navigate, especially because there's so many voices in the room and so many people sort of giving their opinion. But the fact is, there is so much evidence that whole foods are really what reduce the burden of chronic disease. It can even reverse chronic disease, right? Diabetes, hypertension have done it, like higher therapeutic doses, and make us feel good. And actually the foundation of our health, right? Food nourishes us. It does so much to really build our system to be strong, to be healthy. So again, things like, whole fiber foods, we're talking fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes. These are things like beans, lentils, and many traditional foods have these in our traditional diets. This isn't like anything new. It's kind of like, how can we remember what we know really supports us and then incorporate it into our everyday life in a way that's sustainable, in a way that we know how to prepare it, where we can find the food, where it's affordable. It doesn't have to be expensive. And it's like cutting out all the nonsense.
Love it. And I think there's this misnomer, Ifeoma, that to eat healthy is expensive. And people get all like, oh, I'm not going to buy a $20 lettuce, I'm not gonna and it's not that. I mean, a bag of beans is pretty inexpensive.
Actually, a lot less expensive than eating meat too, in terms of a bag of beans. And it doesn't always have to be organic. I mean, organic is great, but it is more expensive. So that's not accessible to you. That's fine, and it really doesn't have to be expensive at all. And lifestyle medicine and healthy eating doesn't have to be just the domain of privileged people. And that is so important to me, to get that message out and to have our services accessible to anybody who wants them, especially our communities, because I think sometimes there's a feeling like, oh, I can't afford that, or that's not for me, or that's not, it's not available.
And eating well and eating healthy doesn't have to be a chore or boring or sad.
In fact, what I've found as I've adopted more of a whole food plant-based diet, for example, I walk in the kitchen, I'm excited. It's like a rainbow in there. I mean, there are colors, there are textures, flavors, especially with the, the season coming up now. Our farmers markets are going to be having great produce. A little shout out for the farmers market at Dixwell, for example, on Wednesdays. I think that's when it's out there. They've got great stuff. And it actually adds so much variety, and I feel joy. And I'll even take it a step further. When I'm eating more that way, I feel more energetic. I feel happier. I have more peace. And you notice it when you contrast it with maybe some of the other foods that aren't so wholesome, things that maybe have a lot of high sugar or that are processed, often can really affect our mood, let alone, our whole physiology.
And you're not telling people to give up things that are culturally in their diets. Like, you're not saying,
No.
Give up all the rice or give up.
No. And what's great about this class actually is that one of the concepts is you have a plate and, start to fill more of it with whole plant-based. And then you still have everything else that might have been on there, the rice or the fried this or whatever. And then you get to start implementing and experimenting. And then maybe you find you want to trade out some of those other things that used to taste good to you, but maybe don't taste so good anymore. Maybe don't help you feel as healthy as you could. So there's no shame. There's no, this is forbidden or these foods are bad. And I think it's really important that we have our cultural foods, and there are always adaptations to those recipes as well if we want to experiment,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And so and it won't be sad eating. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's a chore and it's sad, because I have been on diets pretty much my whole life. I have been on sad diets. I don't diet at all anymore. I just said,
this is not a diet. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought the word diet up. This is really, you could talk about as like a dietary pattern, being what am I bringing into my repertoire of foods that nourish and sustain me? And I might have whatever my guilty pleasures or indulgent foods or things that I've considered forbidden foods. And let's throw those labels out as well. There's a place for everything. We want food as pleasurable. But what I found is that when you start to change your eating habits to create more whole foods, that becomes pleasurable. And some of the other foods that you used to give you pleasure actually don't anymore, because they're not really nourishing you in the ways that these other foods are. And that's not a judgment. That's not a, that's just a reality, and you can experience it for yourself. So that's what's nice about this class that we're going to do. It's April 22nd through June 10th, Tuesdays, 5:30 to 7 at the lab, is that it's really about experimenting, dipping your toe in, asking questions. We're going to have every class, we're going to have some sort of healthy, whole food treats or, snacks and things to try. So this is really about being curious and having an open mind and open heart.
So tell me about the planning of this 8-week commitment of time, which I love, because I think if you just had like an hour, I don't think it was set in for people. But I think if people come back and learn, it becomes a habit. You start to think about eating differently. So what was the planning like for this? Like, what was what was the dream?
There's a great curriculum that I have through the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, which is the Medical Association for Lifestyle Medicine. And this is a certified curriculum called Full Plate Living through the Ardmore Institute of Health. So we have a great curriculum. And so that's really important. And again, there's a lot of science behind it, and it's very accessible in terms of the presentation. And so then the rest was really just, having a space. It was really important to me that it be in a community that I care about, in which I've worked in. So the lab at Concord, is right on the edge of Hampden and New Hallville. And so just feeling like this is something that's in the community, that's accessible. The fact that it's free is really important to me. And in fact, all the services that I offer, group classes, individual visits, I really want this to be accessible. So we make it work. You know, I don't want there to be any barrier for anybody that's listening or interested in this. Cost is not a barrier.
We make I love it. And there's good parking over there.
And there's good parking over there. Yeah, there is. There's great parking, and it's accessible by the bus lines. But yeah, there was a bit of planning, also working with the medical residents. You know, young medical professionals, many of them recognize the importance of lifestyle medicine, and they're hungry to have this in their medical education, right?
I was going to ask you, nurses, how does this impact them? Because I don't know where they would get this education, because
there's not enough of it. There's just not enough of it, but there's a growing recognition of that, and there's a growing interest in the health professional schools to incorporate it, whether it's more nutrition classes, whether it's actually doing whole residency programs in lifestyle medicine, which exists for nursing and medicine. So it's going to be more accessible, and it already is. And people are reaching out to me because they want this. How can I learn? How do I incorporate this with my patients? How do we do this? So we're really growing this together. And I'm excited to do it in New Haven, because New Haven has all these young people, professionals that are learning, you know, nursing, medicine, etc. And it's a town full of, you know, higher ed as well as health institutions. And so we need to be incorporating lifestyle medicine as the most foundational aspect of health. We need to be leaders and champions in this.
I love it, because I feel like if you have your primary care physician and what all the other physicians that you have, having this component to it, to me, it just would make your life better.
Yes. And when I work with clients, they have a primary care provider, and I can send that primary care provider my notes. You know, I can consult with them if they want me to be in contact with their primary care provider. I have served as a primary care provider, so I know exactly what that entails. I understand the whole medical side of people's, you know, health issues, whatever, if they bring their labs in or records, I know I understand it, right? I've treated these things in a very conventional way. And so you're right. It's nice to have the lifestyle piece as the foundation. And increasingly, I'm hoping that in primary care and even other specialties, people will be incorporating lifestyle into the visits. It does require more time, because a lot of it is the counseling and really talking with people. And unfortunately, a lot of, as you know, in medicine, there just isn't a lot of time in visits. They're very short.
Oh, yeah. Your doctor's not going to sit and help you map out a...
Yeah. And so that's what I do. And I love the time. If you come see me, your first visit will be an hour to 90 minutes. It's not going to be rushed. You might be like, I'm done, and I might have more questions for you, you know, but it's great. You will not, there is no stone left unturned that you don't want to share, right? And then we do close follow-up visits. These are individual visits I'm talking about, where you might come in every couple of weeks, every month, and then we can track the progress. How's it going? What worked, what didn't work, and again, with a real positive, success-minded framework, and using challenges as opportunities to learn and grow.
Now, if you know, folks do this, adopt this lifestyle, this way of being with themselves and with their nutrition, is this going to require me to like spend a whole lot of time trying to cook?
Okay, you reached a good point. So this is a barrier. We didn't talk about this earlier. So you don't have to cooking. I love to cook. So some people feel intimidated, or some people feel like, oh, it's too much time. And it is true. When you are cooking unprocessed food, you have to process it yourself. You have to cook it, right? So that does take some time. But there are ways in which you can be efficient about like prepping in advance, or taking some time on the weekend to do some shopping or washing or prepping, cutting of vegetables, things you can have for the week, or making a big batch of soup or one dish that you get to enjoy. You know, there are a lot of ways that you can get around it. For people who have the means, some people do like a fresh delivery service of like meal kits that you can put together. So there are different ways to go about it. But, you know, I think that when we interact with food, whole food, there's an energy there. It can be a joyful process. Like you're touching the carrot that came out of the earth, you know, or you're like massaging the black eyed peas and getting the skins off because you're going to make something wonderful. Or, you know, it can really be a sensory, joyful experience. And that's been my journey with this. Yeah.
All right. So the class starts. When does the first class start?
Okay. The first class starts in 2 weeks. So we still have some spots left. April 22nd. That's a Tuesday. If you're interested, shall I share ways to get in touch?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to put the flyer is out there. Like we don't put it on our social media site.
Okay,
so it's out there. But
wonderful.
yes,
Wonderful.
I'll drop it in some chats that I know because I already talked about this with some girlfriends.
Wonderful.
And they're like, I'm gonna go sign up.
So. Yes. And yeah, the location is the Lab at Concord, 265 Moore Street in Hamden. Again, 5:30 to 7 p.m. If you're interested, you can call our number 203-859-4476. I also have an email, info@lifestylemedicinenewhaven.com. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, that's the other thing is, to me, I want to make healthcare fun and like joyful. I love healthy living. It's always something that I've enjoyed. And I think, I want to bring that spirit back to healthcare. I want people to know that that's possible and to find the joy in their own way, you know, and not it just be like a struggle or guilt or shame or whatever you put on it.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine this is a great way to build community and connect the community. Because I bet you there are people who don't know that there are farmers markets that's about to kick off all around this city. And maybe they could go visit one, you know. And I think I really think that most people would love to eat healthier, but they don't know where to begin. They don't know how to start.
Yes.
You know, and it's overwhelming.
Yeah, and this is such a great way to do it, Babz. And this is not a diet. We're not talking about that. This is really about nourishing yourself. But what you'll find, I mean, this is the thing. If you do start incorporating more whole food, plant-based in your diet, in your eating pattern, you naturally will just lose whatever you need to lose. It's not even, you're not even making an effort. And that's the beauty of it. And so for people who have weight loss goals in mind, this is also a great class for that, because that's one of the natural results that happens. So.
I love that. And I think we've been, you know, everybody who's ever been on any diet anywhere from Oprah to me, you know, it has been an arduous process. You know, you get geared up, you psych yourself up, and then you try to have some discipline. And then when you fail, it's terrible. You know, you feel like a failure, you know?
Yeah, that's really painful and it's discouraging, and that loop. And in fact, diets don't really work because there's often something about restriction, which can be hard psychologically, and it may not really be sustainable. So you can restrict whatever it is and lose some weight in the short term. That happens a lot. But what's going to make it sustainable? And I think that's what's missing. So we have to really think more about just the choices we're making around what we're eating and how we're doing it, and doing it in a way that really works for us without the kind of yo-yo thing that can happen with restriction, and then it fails, and then, you know, and that's really hard on our metabolism as well when we do that.
Well, I'm looking forward to these 8 weeks. How many people can be in the class? Like, what are you hoping? What's the magic number?
Capacity is going to be 20, just thinking about the space. But, you know, I'm just happy to share this. I love this. I'm passionate about it. I think it's going to be really impactful. I think people will learn a lot and have some real things they can take with them. So I like intimate groups. I'm happy with big groups. I just want to get the word out there.
I love it. Well, I am delighted that you are doing this and centering it in communities where it is necessary and needed. And I hope people turn out for this. How often do you think you'll offer this? In the work in this kind of setting,
in this kind of group setting. Yeah. So this is the first offering, through Lifestyle Medicine, my business. So we'll see. I believe it will be a success. I'd like to do this maybe once a quarter, but I also offer individual visits with people. So if you can't do a group visit or the time doesn't work, you can contact me and we can set up a series of visits for whatever your health concern is. It doesn't have to just be, oh, I want to talk about changing my diet. It could be someone who's, has diabetes or pre-diabetes and is like, what do I do? And so we look at these pillars of lifestyle. And again, where do you want to start? What works with your life and your goals? And we go from there. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I have enjoyed this conversation, and I want people to sign up. This is Ifeoma Nwokoye, right?
Nwokoye, close.
Nwokoye.
Yeah.
And she's offering a free lifestyle medicine to transform your health. And it is jumping off, let's see, Tuesday, April 22nd. It will run through June 10th. It is every Tuesday for 8 weeks, from 5:30 to 7.
That's
and get in touch. It's going to be up on our social media. It's already up on our social media. And I hope people take this opportunity to learn something. And if this is your time to change your life or change how you eat or make some different decisions, this might be good for you. So thank you, Ifeoma.
Thank you so much, Babz. I appreciate being here.
And I want you to come back as you progress through this journey with people and offer more things. Consider this your home, your platform. Come back and we'll talk some more.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Harry. Welcome back. I will see y'all tomorrow.